Hi everyone, in today's video we're covering episode 3 of The Water Magician. At the start of the story, Abel announces they're very close to the town and will be arriving shortly. Hearing this, Ryou gets excited, saying he's never been to the Debya Empire before and is eager to see it. He also finds the name of the empire a little odd. Abel then points down the road, explaining that if they continue just a little further, they'll finally be there. Ryou, however, wasn't excited about the town itself, but rather about the chance to finally sleep in a real bed. This comes as a surprise to Abel, who remarks, "You really do have some strange hobbies. I honestly thought you preferred living in a cave." After this exchange, they continue walking. He tells Ryou he absolutely must try the local food, promising that it tastes incredible. As night falls during their journey, they find a small inn and go inside to eat. Over their meal, Abel suggests that Ryou should join the Adventurers Guild, explaining it has many benefits. He lists some of them. Members can travel between towns without paying fees, a skilled adventurer can become very famous, and you get paid for every monster you kill. Abel tells Ryou that with his amount of talent, he could go very far. Ryou thanks him for all the information and says he will definitely consider visiting the Adventurers Guild. Just then, their dinner arrives, and it's curry and rice. Ryou is stunned, having never expected to find this dish in his new world. When he tastes it, it's exactly like the curry from his original world. Absolutely delicious. In fact, you won't believe this, but Ryou ends up ordering several more plates because he loves it so much. Seeing how much Ryou enjoys it, Abel is pleased and says, "I had no idea you would like the local food this much." The next day, they resume their journey. On the way, Ryou is still marveling that such an amazing dish exists here. Abel notes how much Ryou must have liked the food, and Ryou agrees wholeheartedly. Abel then tells him, "Don't worry, that's just the beginning. Once we're in town, you'll get to eat even tastier food." Soon after, they get close enough to see the town. Abel explains that the surrounding land is used for extensive large-scale farming, which is then shown on screen. When they finally reach the gates, the guards are overjoyed to see Abel, as everyone had thought he was dead. Abel explains he would have died if it weren't for Ryou. The guards are relieved and thankful. Abel then pays Ryou's entrance fee. Apparently, you even have to pay money just to get inside the town. Once they are inside the town, Abel says the first thing they should do is head to the Adventurers Guild to get Ryou registered. He explains that new adventurers usually start at F rank. However, he adds that with Ryou's talent, he might even start as a D or E rank adventurer. Hearing this makes Ryou even more excited. Abel tells him not to worry about money, offering to give him some to start, and reminds him that he'll earn plenty from completing quests. They finally arrive at the guild. Inside, everyone is stunned to see Abel, and they quickly surround him, clearly overjoyed. Ryou realizes that Abel must be very well known and respected here. Deciding to give them some space, Ryou thinks he should explore the town a bit on his own, and heads outside. While walking, he encounters an elf girl. She is shocked when she sees Ryou's clothes, thinking to herself that they look like the attire of the Fairy King, a figure Ryou has never heard of. The elf girl quickly apologizes, saying, "I'm sorry, but I don't have time right now. I promise to talk with you about it later," before hurrying away. Just then, Abel finds Ryou and asks, "What are you doing out here? You should come inside." Ryou follows him back into the guild, where Abel introduces him to everyone, announcing that this is Ryou, the man who saved his life. He adds that he's also here to register as an adventurer. Following this, Ryou introduces himself to the crowd. Everyone in the guild begins praising Ryou, thanking him profusely for saving Abel's life. It's made very clear that Abel is an incredibly important person to everyone in this town. After the commotion dies down, the adventurers return to their business, and Abel takes Ryou to the reception desk to get his registration started. He tells the receptionist that he wants to recommend Ryou directly for a D rank. The receptionist explains that while it's not a problem, she will need to get approval from the guildmaster first. Abel simply tells her not to worry about it, insisting that he will speak to the guildmaster about it himself. The receptionist asks them to wait for a little while because the guildmaster is not in at the moment. After waiting for some time, the guildmaster suddenly arrives. First and foremost, he's incredibly happy to see Abel and says that he's very glad he made it back here. They have a brief conversation, and then the guildmaster asks who the young man is. Abel begins to explain that this is the one who saved his life, and Ryou then introduces himself to the guildmaster. The guildmaster proceeds to thank Ryou profusely as he had saved Abel's life, who was essentially the town's hero. Ryou humbly says there's no need to thank him, as it was just his luck that he reached the scene in time and was able to save Abel. Following this, Abel makes his case, saying that Ryou is exceptionally strong and he believes he should receive at least a D rank. The guildmaster says, "Yes, you're right, and I will look into this." In the next scene, Abel shows a large quantity of monster stones to the guildmaster. In effect, Abel presents these stones as evidence, saying this is proof for him to understand how strong Ryou actually is. He reiterates that he thinks Ryou should get the D rank title now. The guildmaster, again, says, "Yes, you're right, and I will look into this." Just then, Abel's companions, a few of his friends, arrive, and they are all thrilled to see him. They all express how they were very worried about him. Abel says, "I'm sorry I put you all through so much trouble." Finally, Abel tells Ryou that he will have a test, and he should meet him after it's done. The guildmaster then leads Ryou into a separate room and explains that his test will take place here. Ryou asks, "How did you agree to Abel's request so easily? Why did you decide to give me a D rank?" The guildmaster explains that Abel is one of the strongest adventurers in town. Since someone like Abel has praised Ryou so highly, it signifies that there must be something truly special about him. He states that for this reason, they are willing to consider the higher rank and grant him the D rank status upon passing the test. After that, a girl brings in a magical device, which will be used to determine what type of elemental power Ryou possesses. The girl introduces herself first, saying that she's very happy to meet him. Ryou then gives his own introduction. The girl proceeds to ask him some basic questions, such as what kind of magic he can use. Along with that, she asks several other questions before announcing that the Q&A portion is over. Finally, she instructs him to place his hand on a specific object on the table, and Ryou complies. The girl then explains that, as part of his duties, he will have a quest quota, which means he must clear at least one dungeon per month. She informs him that his next dungeon mission is scheduled for 9 days from now, and asks if he wants to take it. Ryou confirms, "Yes, I'm completely ready to do it, but I don't have any money to live anywhere." The girl reassures him not to worry because in the beginning, he will get a place to live for free. With that settled, Ryou agrees and places his hand on the object, which appears to be some kind of machine. It immediately starts to glow intensely. His registration is then finally completed, and he is given his official guild card. Next, we see Ryou and Abel out shopping together. It seems Abel is taking him to buy some new clothes. Abel also suggests you should get a proper weapon for attacking, like a sword. Ryou tells him not to worry, saying, "I already have a sword." Abel looks at it and remarks that it just looks like a knife. Ryou insists that's not it. "This is my sword, and I've used it to kill many dangerous monsters." Abel finds this strange to hear, but seems to accept his explanation. Ryou then explains the time system of this world, which is identical to his old one. A day has 24 hours, a week has 7 days, and a year has 365 days. After he's finished his shopping, his mind is still preoccupied with all these similarities. He concludes that another person from his world must have been reincarnated here before him, and that person must have introduced both the curry rice and this familiar calendar system. After shopping, the two of them head back to the Adventurers Guild. When they arrive, they see that everyone is having a party. The receptionist girl takes Ryou over and introduces him to a group of adventurers. It feels like there are a lot of introductions in this episode. It's revealed that Ryou will be joining this group for the upcoming dungeon crawl, which seems to surprise everyone. Ryou politely says, "Thank you very much for having me on your team." The team members then introduce themselves by name and suggest that since they'll be working together, they should all live together to get to know each other better. Just then, another girl joins the group, and the others comment on how young she seems. The girl explains that she is indeed only 16 years old. She says that since she has no parents and nowhere good to live, she decided to become an adventurer. This way, she could get a place to stay and also earn her own money. Finally, we cut to a scene with Abel, who's telling his own team members that Ryou is a very special person because he can use magic without chanting any spells. Hearing this, everyone is completely stunned. And with that, the episode comes to an end. Let me know what you thought of today's video in the comment section. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.